Hey everybody, today we're talking about War of the Supermen. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent and today we're talking about War of the Supermen. This is the finale of the new Krypton saga, as it were. Some stuff's been left out of these collected editions I've been able to get from the library, either as hardcovers or hoopla, but some of it is also collected elsewhere, like the Supergirl stuff is all in trade. There's also some more recent trades I think they did with the older DC logo, where they collected 12 issues at a time. That's the Sterling Gates, Jamal Igle stuff. That is out there. But I haven't seen any recent collections of the Mon-El or Nightwing and Flamebird stuff. So that is probably a little bit harder to track down. And I'm mentioning that because the Reactron stuff in here has a lot to do. Reactron did show up in the New World of Krypton mini maxi series, that 12 issues. He does show up in here and plays a very important role with things that go down. And then also, Nightwing and Flamebird show up at the end of this storyline and have a pretty pivotal role in terms of ending the conflict. And if you're only reading the books I've been covering on the channel for the last couple of weeks, you're going to be like, who the hell are these people and what are they doing, right? So those are other storylines that do play into this a little bit, but I think only at the end, and maybe that's why they weren't collected in the 4-volume New Krypton saga I got off of the Hoopla app via the library, right? So let's talk about War of the Supermen. This collects War of the Supermen 0 through 4. It's written by James Robinson and Sterling Gates with many, many artists. You got Eddie Barrows doing some covers and the 0 issue. You got Jamal Igle doing issue number 1, Eduardo Panisca doing 2, Cafu doing number 3, and then Bernard Chang doing I think the epilogues. He does the epilogues, but it doesn't really say who does issue issue by issue. They don't have the credits. It just has the story. They don't have a credits page or anything like that. So I know Jamal Igle's work pretty much by heart. I know Eddie Barrows' style pretty much by heart. So they're easy to pick out. Cafu's pretty easy to pick out. It's Eduardo Panisca and anybody else that's doing an assist on there. That may be a little bit harder to pick out, right? So this is from 2010, I believe. So shortly following this story is when you have the 12 issues of the J. Michael Straczynski and Chris Roberson Superman Grounded, where he walks all across the Earth. At the same time with Wonder Woman, you had Wonder Woman Odyssey, also by J. Michael Straczynski. And after those ended, each 12-issue runs, you had the Flashpoint, New 52, and we wiped all that stuff away. So, if there are any dangling threads left of New Krypton, they were all wiped away by Flashpoint. And basically, I don't remember them covering this in any Superman book since Rebirth, when we kind of incorporated all the older stuff back into the DCU. So Chris Kent, is he out there? He's out there, but he's de-aged. He looks totally different. And I don't even think he's called Chris Kent anymore. I think he's just called Lor-Zod, right? And I don't remember if they mentioned his time. He's definitely 14. He aged up in the Phantom Zone by the time you see him in this new Krypton saga. And then when you see him in the new Super Sons thing with the Sinestros kid that came out, was it a year or so ago? In 2024, he's definitely more like the 7 to 10 age range. Definitely shorter, my underneath my shoulder, as opposed to my height or something like that. As a 14-year-old, he's a big kid, right? Anyway, back to War of the Supermen. What is this? This is the grand finale. This is the battle. This is New Krypton going to war with Earth, because you had Brainiac invade in Last Stand of New Krypton. You had him rebottle the city of Kandor, and then they unbottled it, and now you have General Zod basically declaring himself leader of all of Krypton because most of the council is dead. And I think actually is Laura, or no, Lara's not dead at the end of that storyline. But he's basically like, who else is here to stop me? I'm your hero. I saved us from Brainiac, and we're going to declare war on Earth. And that's how Last Stand of New Krypton Volume 2 ended. So this is that war. In the book, it's called a 90-minute war. It happens very fast, as you would expect with a bunch of Kryptonians and superhumans. And honestly, I think I read this in about that time frame, 90 minutes to 2 hours. maybe a bathroom break or a phone call, texting, whatever, but it does move fairly quickly. The pacing is phenomenal. Never once does it drag. So hats off to Sterling Gates and James Robinson for that. I thought it was a really well-paced storyline. Some things happen in New Krypton at the end of issue number 1, right? That's the issue drawn by Jamal Igle, who does a great job here. Thanks, Jamal, if you ever watch these videos. He does our Comic Timing podcast with us sometimes, so you can check him out over there. And then you have Eduardo Paniska doing number 2 and Cafu doing number 3. His style here is very, like if you see him on Instagram right now and the stuff he was doing on Venom, he's very more painterly. And here he's still doing his style, but he's inked by someone else and the colors by someone else. So it's not until, I think he goes from here to do the Voodoo series on New 52. And then after that, I think he levels up a little bit more. Eddie Barrows does a little bit of issue number 4. Okay, I'm sorry. But I think you have Eduardo Paniska doing assists there also. That's why I got confused of who's doing issue number 4. Again, DC, put the damn credits on who's doing what and what issue would be nice, right? You do it in every floppy. Why not the book itself? But anyway, you have Zod taking the rest of his superhumans down to Earth at the same time. They're going to Mars. They're attacking what's called the Earth Defense Force, which has been set up in other storylines that aren't included in any of these volumes. So you just kind of have to go with it there. They're taking out these guys, and then eventually they make their way to Earth, and then they're eventually stopped, of course. And how they stop them is half the fun. There's a lot of destruction here. You thought maybe Amazon's attack was the worst thing to happen to the DC universe or Washington, D.C. Well, let me give you War of the Supermen, because you have nearly, I think they call them, there's 100,000 Kryptonians on New Kandor at the time of that storyline. Some of them do die. So I think you have, it's not that many. I thought they would have lost more than half. It's less than half that they do lose when Krypton goes boom here, or New Krypton goes boom in this storyline. But I want to say there's 30 or 40,000 Kryptonians attacking Earth. So if you can imagine, Superman times 30,000, although they do make a good point here of saying hey, none of them are as experienced as Superman in their powers, and that's kind of why Superman and Supergirl are able to overpower them even when there's multiple people at one. They've been trained in how to fight. They know how to fight. They've been doing this for a while. It's pretty interesting. I gotta say, the way Krypton goes boom is heartbreaking. I would just say that. Leave some surprises in here. The stuff with Nightwing and Flamebird, I remember reading it at the time. I believe it was written by Greg Rucka, and I don't know if Cafu was a regular artist on there. He might have been. And he was dealing with some Kryptonian lore and these legends of these extraterrestrial entities. The Nightwing was this shadowy thing, and the Flamebird was kind of like this phoenix force. So I'm kind of happy they did away with this. It was a little cliche when it was coming out. Wasn't the strongest stuff, but it does come up out here. So if you are unaware of it, just go with it. There's other books that you haven't read. Maybe they're on DC Universe Infinite Ultra, whatever, right? I don't know if they've ever been collected, to be honest. But ultimately, I thought this was a pretty grand slam of a finale for what I thought was a really interesting storyline at the time, and really interesting again when I reread it this year here in the Summer of Superman 2025. If you're looking for something you've never read before, like you've read Death and Return of Superman over and over again, or you've read John Byrne stuff over and over again, seek these out. I think they're a lot of fun. And it's a more recent Superman storyline. One of the things DC fails at is to collect Superman's events. If you look over my right shoulder here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see lots of Batman events. You've got Contagion, you've got Nightfall, Knight's Quest, you've got No Man's Land, you've got Cataclysm, you have Batman Legacy, you've got Batman R.I.P., you've got Batman and the Monster Men in here, you've got the Gotham War. And what they don't do with Superman is collect his crossovers like this one. You could easily do 3 thick trades of all of this stuff, maybe 4. Hell, a compendium would be great, DC, since you love doing those now. And just put in all the stuff I reviewed in the first video, the the New Krypton storyline, all the 4 of those. I think those are all short trades, right? They're all 6 issues. So that's 12 right there. And then you got another 12 with the last stand of Krypton, and there's 5 issues here with the 0 issue was a new comic book or a free comic book day event launcher back in the day. So what? That's less than 24 issues. You could easily do that and then throw in the Mon-El stuff and throw in the Nightwing and Flamebird stuff for a compendium the size of Sweet Tooth. or these John Byrne hardcovers. Like, it's not even going to be as thick as Starman over here on my left, your right. So I think that would be really cool. Like, you're reprinting Our Worlds at War for the third time in the last 10 years. I definitely think you could do the New Krypton Saga as a compendium, if not an omnibus. I think it would do pretty well, because this is a story that people have kind of forgotten about, because it did come shortly before New 52. And it did leave a lot of lingering questions we never did get answers to, but I think it does wrap everything up pretty nicely because of the way that they end it. And it's not a whole lot of death and destruction, but I did look up what happens to Superman after this. He beats up on Parasite at the end and has a moment with Lois, who he's reconnected with after like a year of being away. And I'm like, wait, what happened to Superman after this? Because I have a lot of questions. And I looked at the comics, and it's like, oh, right. We had the Doomsday Lex Luthor Black Rings storyline in Doomsday, and then Superman was walking the Earth on the JMS grounded stuff. So, yeah, there's that. So, again, underrated. I think it's worth your time seeking out all these books. It ends, I think, in a satisfying way. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on War of the Superman. 2 thumbs up for me. Really enjoyed this one. We need a lot more Superman prints of his events, because he does have good stories out there. You just need to find them and print them. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you thought of the last Stand of New Krypton, the New Krypton Saga, and War of the Superman down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time in the Funny Pages.